This guy ain't got out of the second round since he started winning MVPs.
There is no doubt that Jokic, the reigning two-time league MVP, who everybody's gunning for to knock off that pedestal, has answered the call. He's averaging a triple-double, 24, 10, and 11. He's shooting better than 63% from the field.
Don't let them fool you. It wasn't that long ago that the Denver Nuggets, despite coming out as NBA champions by running through the competition, still weren't being taken seriously enough. In fact, they were doubted by pretty much everyone except for Denver fans. And in the center of it all was a 7-foot Serbian unicorn who recently put together one of the most magical playoff runs in the history of the sport. But before we get there, we can't go without mentioning how the NBA media tried tearing this man down. Nikola Jokic sent the NBA and the world a scary message. Jokic just finished his historic 2023 playoff run, facilitating the most offense any single player has ever generated in a postseason, with an average of nearly 56 combined points and assists per game. Which, by the way, is even slightly better than LeBron James's legendary 2018 playoff run to the NBA Finals with a cast of role players and some guy who ran out the clock with the game tied. Nikola Jokic's even-keeled leadership and selflessness were without a doubt the most valuable part of the Nuggets' postseason success last season. But once upon a time, Nikola Jokic was just some guy that drank like 3 liters of soda every day. And that's not to bash Jokic, it's just simply wild to think that his journey has been unlike any player who has reached the pinnacle of the sport thus far. Neither MJ, LeBron, Kobe, or Magic can say that they had a rise anything like the Joker's. But the crazy part is, Jokic was supposed to be just another guy, a nobody, someone no one would ever care about. The Denver Nuggets basically pulled off one of the greatest draft steals in the history of the NBA. And Jokic was supposed to be a project. The Nuggets sent him to the ABA League early in his career, and while he wasn't ever athletic in terms of foot speed or leaping ability, he always had a great sense of balance, something he had developed because of his horse racing background. It was always hard to push him off his spots, hard to make him speed up or slow down, which is especially what differentiates a gifted player like Jokic from a guy like, say, Shaquille O'Neal. Now sure, Jokic may not have the complete resume that Shaq does yet, but there might just come a day when serious debates go on about the Joker versus the Diesel. Raw athleticism, sheer scoring, and dominance, Shaq might be the best ever to play his position. But how about the rest of the skill sheet? Shooting, playmaking, ball handling, playing multiple positions, and leadership? Jokic undoubtedly edges Shaq in all these categories, and he's only 28. But what separates these two the most is versatility. Jokic already has over 150 games of at least 10 or more assists. I mean, this guy might just be the best center and point guard in the NBA right now. When have we ever said something like that about another player? Even if you take a look at Shaq and Jokic's first MVP season side by side, it's crazy how similarly dominant these two giants were. Shaq's MVP season in 2000 saw him lead the NBA in scoring, field goal percentage, PER, and key advanced stats like win shares, box plus minus, and value over replacement player. While Jokic, in his first MVP season in 2021, became only the third player since 2013 to record a PER of at least 31. And he did it on 39% from 3 and 87% from the stripe. We had never seen such a dominant season from top to bottom by a center before. Now, Shaq may have been brutal and overpowering, but Jokic was just as statistically dominant, with an uncanny ability to shoot for a guy his size. And if he stays on track, I mean, he already has more MVPs and has done things Shaq hasn't come close to, he will blow Shaq out of the water in all-around stats and analytics by the time he's done. But even with the Joker's unique upbringing and his steady progression to legendary status, it took him a few years to adjust to the NBA and its speed, but when he did, he absolutely tore up the NBA. He went from 10 points and 7 boards a game in 2015 to 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists just 3 seasons later. And I know I touched on Jokic's insane passing earlier, but I haven't even revealed the true story behind it. Actually, what if I told you that a whole other sport was responsible for Jokic's amazing passing gift. You see, Jokic doesn't pass the ball like a normal person. That wouldn't be very Jokic of him, would it? He stands upright, almost as tall as he can be. Without loss of any extra motion, he passes quicker and more accurate than everyone else in the league. And how does he do it? Well, Jokic didn't just horse race growing up. He casually played another sport that involved the same passing technique, water polo. And this rare ability has actually helped Jokic develop an insanely good feel as an NBA passer. That's why he makes passes like this look so easy.
Jokic has it. Baseball pass. Porter's out there, and he puts it.
See, greatness isn't one size fits all. In the history of the NBA, there have been only 7 players to record a PER of at least 31 throughout an entire season. And of those 7 players, there are only 4 guys to record at least a 31 PER in at least 3 different seasons: Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Wilt Chamberlain, and Nikola Jokic. And guess who stands alone with the single highest recorded PER season ever? Yeah, Nikola Jokic in the 2021-22 season. And still, no one was talking about this man like they do about those others. No one wanted to acknowledge his sheer greatness. And it's because he's a guy who can't jump like MJ and isn't overly charismatic like LeBron or Wilt. And let's face it, people are only just now paying attention to the dude because of his recent track record and after he won the NBA Finals MVP. But he's been posting silly great numbers like he's straight out of a video game for years. But this past season made Nikola Jokic hands down the best player in basketball. Of course, nobody cares. All we heard for the longest time was that the Nuggets are just a regular season team and that Nikola Jokic is just a regular season machine who can't actually do it in the biggest stages, under pressure. The many naysayers used Jokic's lack of postseason success as a way to tear down at his MVPs and to brush off the Nuggets as some pretenders. In fact, the staggering thing is that the Nuggets, dating back to as recently as the start of the last NBA season, opened up the year with the same championship odds as the Lakers. The same Lakers team that was coming off a 33-win season the year before. Come on, guys. That was a reflection of the disrespect people had for the Joker in a nutshell. But then, things completely turned on their head and the doubters had nowhere to run. When the 2023 playoffs started, a bunch of teams were on a big mission, but one player in particular had a different look in his eyes, a different vibe. He was out to prove something. Nikola Jokic, through those 6 games against the favored Phoenix Suns in the second round, destroyed any and everything in his path. I mean, this was one guy on the entire planet that no one had any answer for, and the world was being put on notice. 35 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, on jaw-dropping shooting splits of 59% from the floor, 44 from 3, and 85% from the free throw line, including that incredible 53-point game that, even though it came in a losing effort, was the most points scored by a center ever in a playoff loss. And in that game, Jokic scored or assisted on 78 of Denver's 124 points. But it doesn't end there. The times when Jokic is either at the top of the key, scanning the court, or when he's down in the post patiently dissecting the defense isn't exactly simple. Not when you have 280-pound guys trying to crowd you and when you got double teams coming at you from every which way. That balance I mentioned earlier is why Jokic, in a blink of an eye, shoots jumpers off one foot and makes footwork look so easy. And many times, he slows down the pace of the game by not even trying, because his slowness is so unforced and natural, and it's oftentimes enough to control multiple facets of the game. Just look at what happens as soon as he begins to make his move. He's not driving to the basket, he's taking it slow. Nice, easy, long strides to the point that blocking his shot at the rim becomes next to impossible because the defenders can never time their jump correctly. Jokic is literally a science project on the court for defenders to try and figure out. It's not fair. But I'll leave you with this. Should anyone be surprised by any of this? Should Jokic's greatness really surprise any of us? He's been a force for years, and he's just now starting to get the respect he's been due. And in this ongoing NBA season, even though it's a little early, Jokic is averaging a career high in points and rebounds. And he's on pace to break his own record for the highest PER in a single season. Yeah, I know, Jokic isn't the high-flying player we've seen popularized by guys like Zion or Wemby. He's not the chosen one like LeBron, and he will never have the same appeal as Michael Jordan. but he's arguably the most unique player in NBA history and the best player in the NBA right now. He's in his NBA prime at age 28, and he's on his way to more championships. And just like they say there will never be another Mike, another LeBron, Magic, or Kobe, undoubtedly, there will never be another Nikola Jokic.